Well, Scott, I want to play this clip from Marco Rubio Nets, our Secretary of State, and I think it's so important because as we look at how this war has developed, it seems these missile strikes and missile barrages have become really critical. And one of the key things that the U.S. is giving Ukraine is the ability to shoot down some of these Russian missiles. But as Marco Rubio explains, there may be not much left in the Western stockpile. So let's play this clip.
Mr. Secretary, I would argue that the leverage that we've given up is taking NATO membership off the table, taking away a commitment to continue to help the Ukrainians with intelligence sharing and with military equipment and arms that they need to help fight this war.
Well, that continues. There was a pause for 1 week. All of that was restarted.
That was intelligence sharing, though, but it doesn't cover the equipment and arms.
Oh, absolutely. That program has not been rescinded. They continue to receive armaments from the United States.
And we continue to fund what the Ukrainians need as the president. And are you prepared to pass another supplemental bill to support them?
Well, that's a different decision. That's a different question. That's not up for me to decide. The White House would have to make a determination about whether to come to Congress for a supplemental. But everything that's been approved and congressionally appropriated is ongoing. In fact, to the extent that the Ukrainians have asked for anything additional, what they've asked for is air defenses, Patriot units, which frankly we don't have. But we are working closely with our NATO allies. There are NATO allies that do have some batteries of Patriot missiles that they could provide or transfer over to the Ukrainians to defend, for example, the airspace of Kyiv and other places. And we've been encouraging in that front and working alongside our partners there to get deliveries of some of these systems. As you can imagine, none of these countries want to give up their Patriot systems either. But we can't make them fast enough, and part of the challenge we have in Ukraine is that munitions are being expended substantially faster than the ability of the broader West, not just us, but the West, to produce them.
So, Scott, I guess my question is, how big of an admission is it from Marco Rubio that Ukraine is essentially out of air defenses and the West doesn't really have many left to give them?
Well, look, I mean, it's a few huge things there. First of all, notably, all the material support has continued this whole time to the best of the West's ability, as he said there. And it is an important admission that we're running out of these kinds of missiles, which they can, they are more effective than you might think at taking out, not hypersonic missiles, but ballistic missiles and cruise missiles that come in at slower speeds at least. But one thing that they never talk about is the financial differential there. I mean, I don't know what the exact numbers are, but there's certainly millions and millions of dollars for these Patriot missiles. But they're shooting down dumb bombs, right? That cost, Khrushchev, 60 rubles to make back in 1965 that had been sitting in some warehouse, and they stuck some wings on the thing like a JDAM kit, these glide bomb kits, and they're spending nothing to drop bombs, these guided bombs, and then we're spending $1 million to shoot them down. And so for how long can we be expected to keep that up? The Biden administration said the whole point of this war was to drag it out and extend it to inflict on the Russians a strategic defeat by forcing them to spend more than they can afford on this war, which, in the end, they have their bubblegum and strings and their new trade deals and those kinds of things, but they are putting off the pain of their military Keynesianism, and they will pay the price for that. But what about us?